I'm back in the kitchen today doing a lot of canning, and up next on my checklist is salsa. As you can see, I got a lot of tomatoes behind me here, so we're gonna turn this into a delicious homemade canned salsa. It's super easy and very versatile to make it either mild or spicy, so come along and I'll show you how to make it and can it. Here is the recipe if you want to screenshot it. Otherwise, it'll be in the description. As always, our first step is going to be rinsing our fresh produce, and I'm going to use a variety of tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomatoes for fresh homemade salsa, but I like to use different colors because it makes a beautiful salsa. Got them all washed. Now for reference, I'm doubling the recipe, so this is 20 pounds of tomatoes. The recipe calls for 10. Now we are going to remove the core, dice them up, and then place it into a giant pot. Since I'm doubling the batch today, one pot is going to be smooth salsa and the other one's going to be chunky. So the tomatoes that you see me dicing up here, that's for the chunky salsa. The tomatoes for the second pot, I'm just cutting up because that's all going to run through a food processor to make it nice and smooth when it's done. Now we're going to put the rest of our ingredients into the pot with our tomatoes. So we're going to put in the onions, the jalapeno peppers, garlic, vinegar or lemon juice, salt, honey or sugar, pepper to taste, and then I am going to put some banana and bell peppers. I'm going to put 2 banana peppers and 1 bell pepper in each one. I love the taste that adds, but that is not necessary. That's just up to your preference. And then to make it thicker, you can put in tomato paste. I'm going to see how runny this turns out to see if I need to put tomato paste or not. And lastly, do not forget the 3 tablespoons of cilantro. Let's do it. Fresh garlic is always better, but the good old mint stuff from Walmart works just fine. The recipe calls for 1.25 cups of lemon juice or vinegar. I like to actually use a combination of both just because I like the flavor that the vinegar and the lemon juice together adds to the salsa. For the hint of sweetness, you can either use honey or sugar. I prefer to use honey, but both of them are fine. Dried cilantro works too, but of course, if you have access to fresh cilantro, use it. I'm telling you, that's the one thing that makes a huge difference in homemade salsa. Got both pots filled. Just a reminder, this is going to be my smooth salsa, and this right there is my chunky salsa. Because these hunks are bigger, this thing is full to the max, so I can't even really stir it at this point because it's so full, I don't want it to overflow. So I'll stir it once it starts to simmer down a little bit. Like all salsa recipes, this is really versatile. If you want it sweeter, add more stuff to make it sweeter. If you want it saltier or you want it spicier, add more stuff to make it spicier and saltier. It's just a lot of fun because you have your basic recipe and you can change it accordingly. The only 2 things you cannot change is the ratio of tomatoes to lemon juice or vinegar, because that ratio is needed for preserving and canning to keep it shelf stable for a very long time. So make sure if you're altering the recipe, you're not altering the amount of tomatoes you put in it or the lemon juice or the vinegar. But otherwise, everything that's in there, you can alter. We're starting to come to a boil, so now I'll set that timer for 30 minutes. I am gonna let these pots boil uncovered because that helps some of the liquid in it to evaporate so it's not so thin and runny. While we wait for the salsa to simmer, we're gonna sterilize our jars in the oven, baking it at 250 for 10 minutes. And we're gonna sterilize those lids by putting it in a pot of water and bringing it to boil. Once it comes to a boil, you can shut them off, they're sterilized. And this is your friendly reminder to keep a close eye on it. Oh, I went to give the kids a bath and it completely boiled over. Oh goodness, that's okay. Worst things could happen. I just got a big mess to clean up now. Okay, they're done simmering. So now I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm not gonna let them cool down, but I'm gonna let them stop boiling because if you put boiling food into a food processor, it explodes like a bomb. Okay, it's done boiling, and this is the point that if you don't like a thinner salsa, you can add in some tomato paste. You can put an entire jar in, you can put a half jar in, whatever you want to get it to the consistency that you like. For my smooth salsa, I'm just gonna pour it into here, puree all of it, and then pour it directly into my jars. For my chunky salsa, I don't want it all to be chunks, but I want it to be chunky. So I'm gonna scoop out 1, whatever this is, and puree it and pour it back in. That way it has a smooth base with chunks in it. But that's just up to you. You can leave it completely chunky if you'd rather have it that way. Well, the camera accidentally shut off when I was putting all the lids and bands on this, so I'll just real quickly show you on one. So what you're gonna do is take your towel, dip it in the hot water from your canner. You're gonna wipe the rim to make sure that it's really clean so that you get a seal. Then get your sterilized lid, put that on there, and then take your ring and put it on to fingertip tight. And that's it. I'm gonna use my additional canning rack in the middle of my canner today so that I can can all 18 jars at once. 9 will go on bottom, and then this, and then 9 will go on top. Ta-da! That's one of my favorite canning products, and I just got it. It's awesome. Now, for canning any tomato recipe, including salsa, you can either water bath or pressure can. For water bath, your quarts are going to be 40 minutes and pints are going to be 35. For pressure canning, your quarts and pints are both going to pressure can for 15 minutes at 10 pounds pressure. Of course, adjust that pressure based on your elevation. I've done my salsas both ways. I've done them in a pressure cooker and I've done them in a water bath canner. They both turn out just fine. Now, as always, follow your pressure canner's instructions. Mine says to vent the canner for 10 minutes first, so that's why I do not have the weight on. We are venting, so we're gonna set our timer for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is up, so now I'm putting my weight on. You can see that that pressure is starting to rise. Once it gets to 10 pounds pressure, then I'll start my timer for 15 minutes. We're there, I got my timer set. While that's cooking, just for reference, the recipe that I made when I doubled it made the 18 pint size jars, but then it also filled these 3. So these are extra. Obviously I couldn't fit in my pressure canner. I'm just gonna store them in the fridge. They'll be good for a few weeks and we'll eat some fresh salsa. Time's up. Just got my heat turned off and I'm not gonna do anything to my canner. I'm gonna let it completely cool down on its own. Once that pressure reaches 0, then it's safe to take my lid off and my jar's out. All done. Let's take them out. There we go. 18 jars of absolutely beautiful homemade tomato salsa. This stuff is so good. And it's really nice to eat this in the wintertime. It's just delicious. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great week and happy canning season.